The vehicle drove for another half-hour at least with its occupants in silence. Adam's mind roiled with questions for Classy, but no good way to ask them. Clearly she was okay with allowing him to know her secret, but not Cell. Otherwise she would have been less evasive. When they arrived at their destination, Cell was out of the car in a flash, clearly not wanting to be in the presence of the intimidating noble any longer. Adam quickly shut and locked the door behind her, turning to Classy. So, do you want to answer questions now or after the, what did you call it again? He asked, looking her in the eyes. Bold of you to assume you can demand things of me, Adam, she replied with a quiet grin. Well, when you walk in and do the whole I'm a princess do as I command spiel, I'm not going to let it slide. So you either answer questions now or after we return to the unit. She exhaled an audible sigh, rolling her eyes and opening the door. Ladies, we will be a few minutes. I am discussing private matters with a recruit, and expect not to be bothered, she said, before closing the door and looking at the groaning Adam with a teasing grin. Fucking hell, Classy. Did you have to make them think you were in here riding me into the sunset? I can moan if you like, she said, smirking. Really sell the illusion. Please don't, Adam replied, staring at her. The straight faces of the pair lasted scant seconds before they both burst out laughing. Okay, first question, said Adam. How the fuck did you get here so fast? You can thank both Captain Raynara and Cell's mother for that, she said, gesturing with one hand. Cell's mother has been on well for the past 2 weeks, operating her end of the courier ship business. She runs out of the nearby city instead of her homeworld. Captain Raynara managed to find her and dispatched their fastest messenger ship to Fayara. When they arrived, the info was sent to Grimm, almost immediately after we got orders to deploy for an emergency guard detail. She paused, letting Adam take in the info. After we got the info, I paid the ship captain to take me to my mother's world, where I negotiated your imperial pardons. She trailed off at the end of her sentence, looking down and to the left. Wow, sounds like I've got a lot of people to thank. You first of all. It sounds like you had to make some concessions. Yes, I did, she replied softly, deliberately avoiding his gaze. Mind telling me what they were? Well, she said, her cheeks turning a deep blue. I promised my mother that I'd marry within a year, or let her find a man for me. And in 2 years when my re-enlistment comes up, I'll leave the commandos. How bad is that? In the grand scheme of things, not terrible. For me, pretty fucking bad. Hell, knowing me, I'll miss the deadline and she'll marry me to the third son of some merchant family she wants a business contract with. I doubt there's many men who could handle an ex-commando as a wife, let alone me. Adam grimaced, knowing how much arranged marriages have sucked for the people involved with them on his world. Fuck it, he thought. I guess this is my life now. Classy, how much are you willing to piss off your mother? He asked, a terrible idea coming to mind. As long as I technically abide by our deal, there's nothing she can do besides stew. Why? I've got an idea, but I'm going to have to talk to the others first. If it comes down to it, your mother won't be able to do shit, Adam said, hopping out of the car. Fuck, this is going to get weird, he thought, as he walked up behind Cell, who was standing with 2 instructors, one being Zev. Instructor Zev, long time no see, he said, falling in beside Cell. That's senior, Instructor Zev now, recruit, she said jovially, and it's good to see you too. I'm sorry about everything that's happened. Her eyes fell as she continued in a somber tone. I made sure Recruit Crow was buried with full Imperial honours. She lies in the Tomb of Imperial Martyrs now. I'm assuming that's a place of honour? He asked, not knowing the customs, but equating it mentally to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier back on Earth. Yes, she's entombed in a wing dedicated to those who died purging traitors to Her Majesty. You can thank Princess Tassu for making that happen. Adam stiffened at that realization, barely avoiding shedding tears. He was sad that he missed the funeral, but he would be sure to pay his respects regardless after this was done. Enough of that maudlin nonsense, though, Zev said. It's time for the 2 of you to take the Deep Minders test. Normally this is done at the end of the cycle after infiltration training, but Command wants this whole situation swept under the rug as expediently as possible, which means removing you two from the eyes of your fellow recruits. She gestured at a large rock outcropping behind her, an 8-foot by 12-foot dark moor visible facing them. You will enter the cave and push as deep as you can. If you leave the cavern for any reason, it will count as a failure. You will enter with just yourselves, 1 flashlight and 1 radio, she said, handing them the 2 items. There is no further help I can provide, and you must face this darkness with your own strength. Adam and Cell nodded at the instructors, turning for the pit in the planet. As they walked through the entrance, Adam shined his flashlight around the walls of the tunnel. The interior was made of a dark mineral that seemed to absorb any light that touched it. I've never seen this rock before. How the fuck does it absorb light like this? Adam asked Cell, hoping she would know.
It's called Vantite. It's frequently used in self-armor plates. Through chemical processes, it turns light into heat energy, which can then be flamed by heat sinks to eliminate thermal signature as well. It's part of how some pods make active camouflage.
Neat, said Adam, pushing deeper into the cave. The way the crystalline mineral absorbed the light from his hand was beginning to play tricks in his mind. He could swear he saw shapes moving just beyond where the beam could reach. The more they moved, the more their footsteps echoed back at them, beginning to sound like a small army marching their way. His shoulder brushed against the wall of that cave. Shining his light to the opposing wall of the tunnel, he came to a sinking realization. Hey, Cell, is it just me or are we running out of room?
We are. It's starting to get wet.
Adam looked to his feet, noticing the quarter-inch of water that had coated the floor now. Well, let's keep going, he said, trying to take the lead, only to have Cell slap a hand against his chest.
I'm smaller. I'll go first, she said, shooting him a serious glare before grinning. Also, it's an excuse for you to enjoy the view.
Adam nodded, allowing her to take the front before she started to do something that was unexpected. She sang an alternating pattern loudly into the caves, and paused to listen to the responding echo.
Based on that, she said, tilting her head, I'd estimate this cave continues for another 800 meters at least, along with getting tighter.
What the fuck did you do? Adam asked. The trance her lifting voice had put him breaking.
Oh, that's called, well, it doesn't really have a good translation to Shorvanti. Best I could say is that it's called voice singing.
Is there a reason? He asked, curious.
Well, yes. When my ancestors lived in caves, it was used to communicate between families that were a short distance away from each other because of the patterns and pitch. In addition, it can be used as a way to judge the depth of a system by waiting for the primary echo. Also, it sounds cool, she said, grinning widely. Would you mind doing more? Adam asked, honestly missing the harmonic minor notes from a few seconds ago. She broke into a soft tone, singing in a language Adam didn't recognize. She sang slowly, gently swaying her hips and shoulders as she did, using her echoes to harmonize and bring depth into her song. As the wall slowly tightened around them, she began to pick up her pace, the harmonizing turning into a dialogue with herself. She began to sway and twirl as she sang, pulling Adam's eyes ever deeper onto the curves only half masked by her fatigues. She hit the final high note of her song, holding it for several seconds before raising her tone to what Adam knew was a seventh note, the discordant tone ending the song in a bittersweet fashion. That was beautiful, Sal, he admitted honestly, his breathing having quickened at her display. She turned to him, biting her lower lip with a seductive grin. Your turn, she said bubbly. What? Songs themselves are a commodity amongst my people. I must be compensated fairly, she laughed. With a song of unrequited love like I just sang, your options are to please me physically, or sing a song of equal complexity. Adam didn't believe for a minute these were the only two options, but he decided he would humour her. He'd been decent in choir in high school, but had never really gone beyond that. He came to a decision on what to sing shortly before the walls forced him to walk single file, choosing Horse Soldier, Horse Soldier. He'd been out partying with some Cav Scouts while on leave, and the men had started playing it, using it to make fun of him being infantry. As he passively sang the song, Sel was repeatedly hitting her head back and forth, seeming to listen to how it echoed off the rocks. As he finished, she nodded slowly, seeming to accept the piece. That was sad and proud. What does it mean? It's a song about the death of a particular type of soldier just over a century ago. Cavalry is a soldier that rode on horseback, a horse being a fast and large creature from my homeworld. They became obsolete after the First World War. So that was a song of war then? She asked, laughing loudly. Yeah, just about. Why? He asked, thoroughly confused at her laughter. Adam, the point of singing a love song is to get one in return. What you just did, effectively, was listen to me bare my heart, then threaten to fight me. That's not what I meant, said Adam, now having to stoop slightly as the cave ceiling lowered. I know, but the next time I sing for you, just make sure you have something tied to how you feel ready. Adam was about to reply, but the light in his hand began to flicker. After several times, it turned off, casting the pair into inky blackness. Adam slapped the small light against his hand several times, trying in vain to restart the bulb. Adam, please turn the light back on. Now is not the time to play games, said Sel from the void in front of him. Not fucking around, Sel. Light's dead. Fuck, she said, audibly slapping the wall. Okay, new plan. Adam heard the rustling of fabric in front of him, before a soft turquoise glow began to illuminate the chamber. Sel had taken off her fatigue top, and was now working on her tank top. As she exposed her upper body to the cool and damp air of the cave, the glow illuminated herself, Adam, and the scant few feet in front of and behind them. She shimmied out of her bottoms, now just clad in just her boots, knee-high socks, and her undergarments. This is why we have these, she said cheerily, gesturing to her bioluminescent tattoos.
Built-in flashlights? Adam asked.
Exactly, she said,
turning with her clothes balled up in her arms. Together they pushed deeper into the ever-shrinking tunnel, Cell's form lighting the way for Adam. By the time they reached the point where they were crawling on their hands and knees, the water was nearly 6 inches deep. The tunnel continued its narrowing, forcing the duo onto their backs, having to shuffle awkwardly on the wet, slimy floor to keep their faces above the water to breathe, the murky water coating them in grime. Cell's life faded as the water deposited more and more sediment on her skin. Just as Adam thought the void would swallow them, he heard a loud sloshing noise, along with a loud yell from Cell. "Cell, you okay?" he yelled, as he shuffled faster, pushing his hands against the ceiling of the tunnel to move faster along the slick bottom. His hand hit open air as he tried to push further, smacking painfully against a wall before he was jerked to his feet by 2 strong arms, and a helmet was shoved over his head, bathing the room in the soft turquoise tones of night vision. The instructors were standing in their armor in the cavern that they were now in.
"Congratulations, Commander. Cell, why are you almost naked? Is that what we heard seeing? Did you two decide to get dirty in the fucking final exam?" asked Instructor Zev, who had pulled Adam from the water. No, said Cell. Our flashlight ran out of battery, so I got creative." "Why am I not surprised that you two would find a way to break another exam?" asked Zev, audibly facepalming a helmet.
"I'm sorry, how do we break it exactly?" asked Adam, trying to understand the situation.
"Your light was on a timer. It shuts off automatically, and you're supposed to face your fears by continuing on. But here you are, using Cell as a backup light."
She audibly sighed, gesturing for the now fully fledged commandos to follow her.
"Come on. The princess is waiting for you just outside. Only the death's head have seen this room, and it will stay that way, in for royalty."
Adam mentally laughed, knowing the princess was already in on the secret. "Oh, Zev, if only you knew," he thought, as they walked through a large arched tunnel, the walls covered with inscriptions. The procession stopped, and Zev pulled 2 sheathed daggers from behind her.
"You've earned these, along with the right to carve your name into these walls."
Adam took the dagger that was handed to him, pulling it from his sheath. It was black, shaped vaguely like a tanto, with one sharpened and curved edge. The metal itself was black and iridescent. The back had a small clip that was clearly designed to fit over a belt. Adam found a clear space on the wall and carved the initials AM, before looking to Cell, who seemed to be attempting to write something that looked vaguely like cursive cuneiform. When she seemed satisfied, briefly nodding her head, they followed the instructors down the tunnel and out into the light of the world.